I actually began with Crisis at Christmas. That was the very first thing I ever got involved in. How was this year? Demand up, as those figures that we spotted in the newspapers just a couple of days ago suggesting it is on the rise and it is deeply worrying. What did that event tell you?
Yeah, so homelessness is definitely on the rise. We did have some good years through the pandemic, actually, where we saw numbers go down, but they're going up again. This is the very sharp end of the cost of living crisis, as you can imagine. And Crisis operates services all year round, as you know, so 10,000 people will come to us. But over the winter period, and particularly Christmas, we'll open various centres, including hotels, and some of them are still running. We're running them till the end of January this year. Yeah. And one of the reasons for that is there's so many people needing help. And as soon as we opened our doors in our hotels, the waiting list was double the number of people that we could see. And it is really unlike anything I've seen in recent years in terms of the numbers coming to us.
I mentioned to you when you sat down that the 250,000 number was in some shelter data that had been produced. And yep. I mean, in a sense, you were in competition, but it's, thank God, it's one of those sectors where everybody works together to try and defeat the same problem. Yeah. Another thing that shelter did highlight, though, was a rise in the number of women. Sharp rise in the number of women who are becoming homeless at the moment.
Yeah, so there is a rise in the number of women, there's a rise in the number of young people, a rise in the number of older people. It's everything. What we're seeing is particularly people just cannot afford to pay their rent. So the numbers of people who just come to us and say, actually, I never thought homelessness would happen to me, but my rent's gone up, or I simply can't afford the 12 or 15% increase. What do I do? And we're not talking about people that, as I say, ever thought they were anywhere near this ever happening to them. And that is happening to women, to various different groups.
It's always been at the heart of the Crisis philosophy as well, that you don't just seek to keep people in safety or put a roof over their heads, but also to skill them up, to support them, to give them the possibility of an alternative life that may then earn them enough to pay that rent, which has suddenly become a problem. Is that still the mantra?
Yeah, so the opposite of homelessness is a person reaching their potential. It's not simply having a roof over their head. So what we do is make sure that people have a home, not just temporary accommodation, but the skills they need to rebuild their lives, get jobs, rebuild relationships, because actually no one needs to be defined by something awful that happened to them. The answer is to get off the streets or out of hostels, out of night shelters, and get on with your life.
Well, I'm glad you do it all, and do give my very best wishes to all at Crisis and all of the good people you work with that in mind. And great to see you, Matt. Thank you very much for coming. Matt Downey there, CEO of Crisis. And my next guest, you will understand completely, makes perfect sense, given that last bit of our little conversation, is someone who understands exactly the struggles of homelessness after spending 6 months homeless, but who managed to turn it all around for himself in a way not unlike Matt just described after spending 6 months as homeless. Joining me now is businessman and podcaster Nathan Keeder, who's been on the programme before. Nathan, great to see you again. Thank you very much indeed. What was the magic formula that helped you turn it round from being someone who suddenly got hit in the face by homelessness and found a new way of making your life work and making it a success? What was the key?
Rolling your sleeves up and doing the hard work. It really is that simple. You know, keep your circle small, do the hard work and get out of it. There is definitely support out there for you. You've just got to go and find it.
And Matt was just saying that a number of the homeless charities will do it, but is there also help and support from local authorities, from officialdom, as it were, rather than the voluntary sector?
Well, I think the simplest thing is recycle the homes that are currently empty. There's 80,000 homes in London that are empty as it stands. Why can't we recycle those homes? And probably the reason why is because there's no incentives for private landlords to do that.